Okay, let's take a moment to talk a little bit about sort of how this is laid out and what we can do with that layout. One of the advantages to a content management system is that all the layout doesn't have to happen in CSS or in templates. We see a little touch of this, especially with the nice little Ajax where you can drag things around on the toolbar for the plugin toolbar for WordPress, where we can kind of just bring widgets over and plug them in and have them work. And so that's moving in the same direction as a lot of what happens on a larger CMS. It's not as fancy in terms of at least at the core level, it's not as fancy in terms of rearranging the blocks on the screen here, but we're going to find that there's a bunch of ways that we can adjust things without ever touching the HTML or CSS in terms of the way things look. One of those ways is a module that's very important and that will actually be included as a regular module most likely in the next release of Drupal, called Views. But the other one has been there from almost the beginning, and that is the idea of blocks. So on the screen, when you design a site, you might look at this and say, that looks like a block, this looks like a block, this looks like a block. Unfortunately, that one's not, but we'll leave that aside for a moment. And so we've got different blocks on the page, and we've got different regions that the blocks go into. So for example, this block is a block of something, and you can put that in the different regions. So you might put it in the left toolbar, sidebar. You might put it in the footer. You might put it in the header. There's different places you could put these things. So let's take a look real quick about when we need to add a little more content because we don't have enough content to put into blocks. So let's start by creating a little bit more content page for the heck of it. Let's do a blog entry. All right. So the title of this is Flash Rules HTML5 rules. All right, and we'll say that it is Flash is the most awesomest. And from here, why don't we just insert a little bit of lorem ipsum, because I'm not creative enough to keep writing. Let's find a lorem ipsum generator in English. We don't want it in Catalan. We'll do 5 paragraphs, and we won't start. And we'll start there. All right. So we'll have a nice little blog entry. Now we could split the summary, so we could have a little bit of a teaser, but I'm not going to deal with that right now. Actually, maybe I will. So let's split it after right about there. And now we have the body, and then we also have an extension. The rest of this I'm going to kind of leave as is. I'm going to assume it's all pretty much okay. Alright, so now, if you edit outline, you'll see that we have it at node 3 because we haven't assigned a particular path to it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the site as the site and see how we can find that now. Flash rules, HTML5 rules, and this. So it pushed the blog right to the front page without us necessarily going in and unchecking that box. That's basically what it would do. And we've got the first paragraph and then a little read more or add new comments. So we're starting to get this stuff together. I guess the question is really, should the poll be here, or do we want to move it off to the side somehow? We're not going to create content this time. We're going to administer, and we're going to take a look at blocks. You see that we have a list of blocks here, and it tells us where things are. So the navigation, this is called the menu, which it's not there right now, but it's up in the header. But in the left-hand side, we have the navigation, and the navigation is the sort of detailed listings of what's available. And we can add things to the navigation, but for now, we can just say where it is, and it's in the left-hand sidebar. User login is also in the left-hand sidebar, but let's say we wanted to kind of get rid of it. So right now, when we go to the regular site, and we're not logged in. Oops, we're logged in here. Sorry about that. I need to open up a different browser. And you'll see that we have this user login. But let's just say that we're going to keep this without a lot of users logging in, and we just want to get rid of that. It won't disappear completely. It just won't show up in that bar. It'll be disabled as a block. And so we've dragged it down here, but we haven't saved this yet, so let's save the blocks real quick. And now if we go back to that, we can refresh this, and you'll see that that's gone. So we don't have anything over in that left-hand sidebar anymore. Because the navigation only appears if you're logged in, and right now I'm logged out and there's no way to log in directly. So let's see what else we can do with those blocks. What else might we want up there? Well, let's get rid of the Powered by Drupal. I mean, I like Drupal, but I don't necessarily want to advertise for it on this site. There's a bunch of things down here that we could put over on that left-hand side. For example, recent blog posts might go there, or recent comments would be useful. Right now we don't have any comments yet, but if we did, why don't we put them in the left-hand sidebar? Now, I noted that I wanted to put some other things over there on the right-hand sidebar maybe, make this into 3 columns, or put something else on the left. But there isn't a block here that I wanted to use, but I can add a block. And we'll call this block, let's see, about what is this site? Oops. That's what we wanted. We wanted that to be the title, what's shown to the user, and we'll say what about. We'll kind of call it that. And this site is for debating the merits of... Once you're authenticated, you don't need to see this, so we'll just have anonymous users see this. And we'll show it on every page. We're good with that. We don't need to do anything special here. We'll save the block. So now we've created that block, and you'll see that down here we have, right down here we have what about, and we'll kind of move this up here into the right sidebar. And we hadn't saved this, so we need to get rid of the Powered by Drupal again, and we'll save the block. All right, and now let's take a look and see what this looks like again as an anonymous user. We get that what's this site over on the right hand side, and there's no longer Powered by Drupal, and so we're starting to get closer to what we would expect to see from a real site. So we can kind of move things around that way and add blocks and take them away. You can kind of tweak them in various ways so that you can add in your own kinds of things. And as we move on, we'll look at some other modules that help us to do that more easily, to add in views inside of blocks so that we can have a block with a specialized view in it. But for now, that gives you a rough idea that we can kind of lay out different regions of the screen, and we can put different blocks of content in there. Now note that when you have a different theme, those regions might be rearranged. So we'll take a look at themes here at the very end, and when you load a new theme in, you might find, for example, that you have an extra column that you didn't have before, or you might have a banner area that you didn't have before, or something else. Not every theme has the same regions available to you. And so this is the basic theme, the Garland theme, that is the one that it sets up with by default, and you'll see this out there quite a bit actually. But it's not the only theme that we could use, and not necessarily the most obvious theme we could use. And so it's important to keep in mind that those blocks might shift around, and you might have to go back and reshuffle those blocks if you choose another theme. All right, next time we will talk about bringing in new modules, and we'll talk about a couple of important modules especially, and talk about modules in general as well. All right, see you then.